Hey everybody, and welcome to Thursday Thermal Takes, where we bounce the most thermal takes onto the most springy of Thursdays. Possibly also another spin-off series, starting with this one if you'd like to see more of this type of stuff, but let me know later. We're going to go over Bunniemons. Bunny-themed Pokemon. Probably a good, wholesome topic for the post-Easter April. But before we get into that, please do like, comment, and subscribe to the video. It definitely helps in the algorithms and helps me bring you more of this lovely, lovely content. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to go over individual Pokemon instead of whole concepts for a video. This is a very different kind of Thursday Thermal Takes and could honestly be its own spin-off series. Today we're just going to go over the general kind of designs and reception, a little bit of the viability for these Pokemon, but I'm not super competitive. I don't do any kind of like Pokemon tournaments, mainly just going over how these Pokemon are as Pokemon. First, today we're going to get into Wigglytuff and Azumarill, two very old Pokemon who are very near and dear to many people's hearts. Wigglytuff was introduced as a normal type in Generation 1 and Azumarill as a water type in Generation 2, but they both have adopted the fairy type through the Generation 6 retcon that turned all the fairy-esque Pokemon into actual fairy types when they added the fairy type. Wigglytuff evolves from Jigglypuff, and Azumarill evolves from Marill. You see, a lot of these Pokemon actually have to get retconned and add things added to them just because the game changes, the whole meta changes, everything like that. So you get new different things. Pretty cool. I think the fairy type definitely helped them out a lot because they went from not very usable Pokemon to very usable Pokemon. For Wigglytuff especially, because Wigglytuff was a normal type and it didn't have a lot but like Body Slam, kind of just like Charm kind of base moves where it uses like things that attract other Pokemon. They're both very tanky. Wigglytuff, I would say more so in HP. It doesn't have very good defense. Azumarill has pretty high defenses, not necessarily as high of HP as Wigglytuff, but still pretty high. Although they generally weren't competitively viable, even based on the tanky nature of them until later on. Once they got fairy typing, they got better movesets, all that kind of stuff. The base stats actually is interesting. Wigglytuff's is 435 for the newer generations. Azumarill is 420, making it a perfect design for both of our previous April holidays. The evolutionary lines are generally kind of viewed as mashups of both the Pikachu and the Jigglypuff archetypes. This is kind of obvious because Wigglytuff is Jigglypuff's evolution, although Marill and Azumarill kind of play into that as well, where they're just kind of round and fluffy and squishy and soft and cute and cuddly. They're kind of rodent-esque. They have very rodent-like features, especially given that they're both bunnies, Wigglytuff and Azumarill. Jigglypuff, Pikachu, all those kinds of Pokemon, they all sort of fit into one general category. They have interesting little designs and everything. They're three-stage Pokemon. They have baby forms. They have final forms. They have their most popular and most common middle form, unlike most Pokemon where Pikachu, Jigglypuff, and Marill were really the popular Pokemon and the evolutions were just kind of also there. It's just kind of an interesting concept when you go into all the old Pokemon, seeing how different the evolutionary lines are treated. Now it's just kind of like you crank out a Pokemon, everyone's going to remember it by the first and last form. Middle forms are just kind of a weird extra stage. But that's not how it used to work. The generational change has probably done both of these Pokemon favors because they really contrast. As far as Wigglytuff goes, I think Wigglytuff sort of speaks for itself in terms of popularity. Jigglypuff, not really all that, like, there's not a big debate as to whether it's popular. It's a Smash character, for goodness sakes. It's generally been one of the quintessential Pokemon. And so Wigglytuff is a lot less popular than Jigglypuff, but still pretty popular. Had a really big deal in Generation 4 when they had Pokemon Mystery Dungeon for those games. They had Wigglytuff as the Guildmaster, all that type of stuff. Wigglytuff has generally been well received, well liked. It's a little bit made fun of, maybe. A little bit overlooked and maybe sometimes overrated, maybe sometimes underrated. Of all the Pokemon, though, Wigglytuff on this list of bunny Pokemon, Wigglytuff is definitely my favorite. Just generally great design all around. The pink isn't that off-putting. It's not overpowering. Well contrasted with the white and everything. Very much better than most of what comes out nowadays. For Azumarill, at least, though, I would say that Azumarill is a little bit different as far as its popularity and reception. Most people probably sort of remember Azumarill. And they probably sort of know what it is, but really they're sort of remembering Marill and remembering a little bit more about Marill than most people ought to. And really by doing that, you have Azumarill, which is probably the better Pokemon. I like its design better. Marill being kind of the mouse thing, it just seems like Pikachu Blue. Whereas Azumarill actually seems like its own Pokemon. And I'd say it probably did it favors by being related to Meryl, as it's a lot more memorable to fans of the series. Azumarill and Wigglytuff both suffer from that Raichu problem of being significantly less popular than the pre-evolution, but I think that really they're better Pokemon overall. Sort of the way I view Raichu is better Pokemon than Pikachu. I'm going to say the same thing for Wigglytuff and for Azumarill. Both better, although I'd say Azumarill is much better than Meryl. Wigglytuff is only a little bit better than Jigglypuff. Azumarill gets this egg and bunny kind of design down that Meryl never really had going for it. So I think it's a lot better of a transition. Now on to Generation 6, which gave us a much more generic rabbit in the form of a Bunnelby, who could literally be from any given series. It really not matter or make much of a difference. Honestly, I don't believe Bunnelby was a very good design in any shape or form. I mean, looking at it, it's just kind of a bunny with little grabby hands. I believe it was designed just to be kind of a stepping stone to get to its evolution, Diggersby, who added the ground secondary type to its pre-evolved normal typing. What an overall disappointment, honestly, for Generation 6, which was generally very refined and short and sweet, had very few Pokemon, about 80 or so, and they were mostly pretty good, and I say mostly partially because of Bunnelby and Diggersby. Bunnelby is basically just a rabbit with grabby ears, like I said, and Diggersby is, despite being our closest attempt to Big Chungus in Pokemon form, it's just a creepy Diggy boy, at least in my opinion. You gotta at least admit that Bunnelby is a very blah design, though. I don't have too many positive things to say about these Pokemon, and I don't think a lot of people really do either, because I haven't heard a lot of people actually give either of these any sort of praise or attention. Bunnelby and Diggersby are not particularly popular in any sense. Diggersby's stats are only a combined 423, just 3 better than Azumarill. But none of its stats really stand out as either high or low, making it rather lame. In design, we're going to give Diggersby a 30 and Bunnelby gets a whopping 10 out of 100 because these are all not very good Pokemon. Usability is maybe a 40, and that's being kind of nice. I mean, it's something that's really great if you're trying to hard counter a Rotom. There's not a whole lot of necessarily useful aspects to Bunnelby or Diggersby. Just generally something else would probably be more fun for a playthrough. We're not really super solid on 30 for mainstay, since they haven't really been around for more than like 7-8 years. In terms of pokiness, we'll give Diggersby a 20 and 5 for Bunnelby. Like I said, Bunnelby could be from any frickin' series on the planet. Doesn't really scream Pokemon. Diggersby a little bit more so, but not tremendously. And finally, my favoritism score is going to be 10, because I think they're just both kind of trash. Very lastly, a 2 out of 10 for Rule 34 ability, because they're really nothing special. The artist community doesn't really seem to disagree that much. Finally, moving on to Scorbunny, Raboot, and Cinderace. We finally have a starter and a fire-type rabbit at that. Scorbunny is a bit too happy-go-lucky for me. To some, that's what they like, but not really for me. Raboot really stepped it up a lot in terms of personality and kind of general intrigue, being the exception, in my opinion, to what maybe I'll describe as mid-evolution jitters, aka Charmeleon's awkward phase. Raboot really has a scrappy and focused personality, how positively and pungently pubescent of it. And finally, we have Cinderace, a full-fledged soccer star. And for the purposes of YouTube's guidelines and just general censorship, I can't really say what I call soccer. Maybe one day we'll even get an American football starter that'll even make Aaron Rodgers smile ear to ear. I'm generally not a fan of all the Generation 8 starters overall. Cinderace is a pretty good option because 530 base stats do it quite a bit of favors, especially considering the Mega Lopunny earlier had 580, so it's not even that far behind it. Raboot actually is at 420 again, so we have another one to join the club. There are only 16 others with 420 base stats, including Azumarill. Raboot gets an 88 in overall design, and the 2 Pokemon bookending it, Scorbunny and Cinderace, each get a 75. I don't think there's a whole lot of great design aspects to the other 2, but Raboot is just very interesting and kind of sets itself apart. Usability is going to be at an 80 for the whole line. I don't think that they're actually bad to use. I just don't see a lot of people using it outside of when it's Generation 8 and I need to pick a starter. I will leave Mainstay blank because it's too new. They do get a solid 70 for Pokiness, being pretty distinctly Pokemon, but not superbly so. Raboot is going to get an 80 in favoritism because I really like Raboot. I just think it's a really cool design that sets itself apart, but the others I'll think are going to get a 50 because they just kind of rub me the wrong way. The Rule 34 stats for all 3 of these Pokemon is going to be about an 8 out of 10 just because they're not completely on Rule 34 all the time, but they're also pretty new, they're pretty popular, and they end up there just because they're rabbits, they're kind of humanoid. My final thoughts for these 3 are going to be that Honestly, Reboot is so good. I wish it had its own general line. I know you can use an Everstone on it to keep it from evolving and give it an Eviolite to boost up its stats since it's not a fully evolved Pokemon, but Cinderace is what you're going to be using the whole time. I mean, it becomes Cinderace at like level 35 or so. Generation 4 gave us another couple bunny Pokemon in the cute little rabbity package of Baneri and the definitely jumpy, elegant, and graceful package of Lopunny, who has forever since gained quite a bit of unwanted positive attention, to say the least, if you know what I mean. Lopunny also has a pretty decent Mega Evolution in Generation 6 that focuses on its Fighting-type combat skills, which aren't really present in its typing, but are present in terms of its moveset. Though the Generation 6 Mega is actually a Fighting-type now as well as normal. In fact, this Bunny in Mega form is very competitively viable now, outpacing the base stats of every other Pokemon on this list by far, at 580. Base combined stat of 580. That's a lot. It has very powerful attack, speed, and fairly rounded defenses, actually, that are higher than Azumarill's. Inversely, its HP is trash, and its even worse special attack doesn't really matter because it's a physical attacker anyway. Baneri's cute little bunny-like features and continuity-looking body make it a solid pre-evolution, and Lopunny's beauty and bouncy fighting style make it an incredibly relevant secondary evolution and contender alike. I do also have to say that Baneri's little sound, as well as Lopunny's cry, are very memorable to anyone who played Generation 4 related games. In scoring, I'm going to be pairing up most evolutionary lines, just in general, because they're kind of the same in a lot of circumstances. Design quality, I'm going to give 90 for all three, the Mega, Baneri, and Lopunny, because they're all pretty decent designs. I don't have a lot to complain about. They're just really good. We're going to go with an 85 in usability for Lopunny and the Mega. Baneri's also rounded in there because it's the same Pokemon, essentially. And we're going to give it a 100 in mainstay relevance because Lopunny is incredibly relevant for all the wrong reasons. We're going to give a Pokéness score of 80 for Lopunny and 85 for Baneri, because Baneri does actually resemble a lot more of what you'd see in a normal Pokemon versus Lopunny. Lopunny doesn't feel as much like a Pokemon, but still not substantially less than Baneri. My favoritism score for both of these Pokemon is going to be 80 because they are very, very good in a lot of different aspects, and I even sometimes use them in Generation 4, which is kind of crazy to think about given that there are other Pokemon in Generation 4, especially since they bring back a lot of Gen 1s for Gen 4. My Rule 34 score for Lopunny is going to be a 10 out of 10, perfect 10 out of 10, because Lopunny, it's not unprecedented. It's basically a top 5 contender in that field. Baneri is going to be a couple points lower at 8 out of 10, just because it's Baneri and it's not nearly as popular, but Lopunny, whew, I'm not on Rule 34, and I even know because of what people say. Finally, I think both of these Pokemon are just pretty good in their own right. Generation 4 had a lot of kind of odd but different Pokemon. It's been kind of the best sort of both worlds in that you have a great design and you have a great personality in a Pokemon. Honestly, I would say that there should probably be more bunny-themed Pokemon. Only 9 out of over 900 isn't a lot. That's less than 1% of Pokemon are bunny-themed. When you compare that to cats and dogs, it's quite a bit. I would imagine if you're generally a bunny fan and a Pokemon fan, you gotta look at Pokemon and be wanting more. Maybe Generation 9 or 10 will have at least 1 or 2 good bunny Pokemon that'll be excellent to use and well designed. Comment below and like or dislike based on your opinion of my takes today. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to be updated on my uploads in the future. Let me know what kinds of stuff you want to see takes on in the future, and let me know whether you'd like more Pokemon content like this. And see you next Thursday.